You play through 20-ish hours of a new expansion. You get to see the desert, snowy mountains, grassland, and even a sunken city. In exchange, you will get information about the witch that destroyed your childhood home. Will you take it? Some who see this might say, why is the witch actually important? Why does she matter? Isn't your goal supposed to be to find your aunt and your uncle, Aunt Han and Uncle Jiang? Well, yeah, but she's connected to your aunt and uncle. She's also destroyed your childhood home. So there's a personal story here. There's a reason to dig deeper into the story and to try to find out who she is, where she's from, and maybe even get a little bit of revenge for what she did to you. It's basically the background story for your character. It's the reasoning for them to do whatever they're doing. It's the reason they actually went out of their way to try to rebuild and to try to get stronger, basically. So the deal's on the table, and to be fair to the game, it does deliver on what it promised to deliver. You actually journey across the desert, snowy mountains, a grassland, and even a sunken city. It's genuinely varied. There is gorgeous environments all over the place. There is a crap ton of lore and knowledge in this place. There is just so much. It's so packed with things in it that you do spend here 20 to 30 hours if you're not really like trying to do everything. If you're trying to just do like the quest and a little bit more, you do get a very nice like visual tour of this area, and it is really worth thing in my opinion. Now, beautiful trip aside, let's actually talk about what is inside of this trip. You start this with a mahjong game. You have a long dream sequence. You see an entire old man saga to bring cotton seeds to China. You see a well full of dead diggers. You see a wine-making tragedy. You see a thief and a snake. You see an assassin. You see a stolen moon lesbian tragedy romance thing, and you see a large musical number at the end during a city on fire. And not even one of them touches the witch, Aunt Han, or Uncle Jiang. So why fill an entire expansion with many stories that have nothing to do with your main goal, basically your main quest? Well, I have a guess. Since this expansion has so many real-life historical Chinese stuff, it definitely feels to me like there was a mandatory like forced thing to add a certain amount of real-life stories into the game, even if they don't make a lot of sense together. So they did the best that they could and threw them all together with some glue to it, so it's kind of loosely connected to one another, and it shows. So the stories could be interesting on their own, but together everything is just like a mess. Okay, so after everything, the mahjong, the old man saga, the well with the diggers, the wine story, the kid and the snake, the assassin, the moon, and so many other quests, what do we learn about the witch? Well, we learn one thing. She's in the mountains. That's it, which conveniently is exactly what the next trailer for the next expansion shows you, which is the mountains. So it is very nice that, hey, this one ends and the next one is going to start soon. But did we get scammed? No, we got what we paid for. We just paid way too much for whatever we got. So one of the main problems in this storytelling section of Hexi is actually the amount of fillers. If you watched any anime, any story, anything basically, it has some amount of fillers to it. Movies and visual stuff tend to have more of this, but it does show the core problems with the game that I really want to talk about. So actually, let me walk you through who we're gonna spend our time with in Hexi, and spoilers, it's not gonna be the aunt or the uncle, so yeah. The first main story you're gonna do is actually about an old man and his sack. It's a sack full of cotton seeds. It's basically the story of how the first cotton seeds got to China. Is the story real? I have no clue. Even if it is, even if it isn't, the bottom line is freaking cool. The problem is that the way to get there is so full of crying, walking long distances, long quiet sections, just boring things that don't add anything. If you told me, I'd say like cut maybe like 50% of what this quest has and it would turn out to be a better quest. That's the main problem with a lot of those kind of things. The core is good. The problem is that you try to draw it out to length and everything, so it becomes bad and annoying. But if you can see through the problems, you're actually able to see there is something good beneath. Now, I haven't told you this, but the game told you this. So if you played this before, you need to remember. The game actually says that this whole section, this whole Hexi region is supposed to be about what home is. That's the theme, figuring out what home is. But the first mission isn't about home. It's actually about doing your dead friend's wishes. That's the reason why the old man does what he does, because his friends in the army died and they told him, hey, get this sack over to that place. He didn't even open it until the end. He didn't care what was inside of it. He only cared to do what his dead friend said. So I wish they did it a little bit different. So although this is a good story, having the main first story in your section that's supposed to be about home not being about home is a little bit lacking. Old Man is out, the new stranger is next. We are going to talk about the wine making tragedy. It's actually about a family that's making wine for the nobles. The father dead, the brother dead. We see the father get cut on screen, blood splashes on like a wall, he's dead. Next. Now fast forward a few years later, the sister is actually making wine again for the nobles. She's making the wine in order to ask for forgiveness for her father and her brother. But her father is dead and so is her brother, seemingly. We don't know why she does this. For me personally, this quest was a little bit like random bullshit. Like, you know, the meme from Moon Knight does random bullshit, go. Like so many things that are a little bit confusing and you don't understand what's going on. I also had a bug, kind of, because I'm writing notes as I'm playing the game, that every time I pause the game, I expect the game to be paused. So I go, I write my notes, and then I come back and unpause the game. But during one of my pauses, the game continued on, kind of skipped the cutscene, so I didn't know what was happening. When I came back into the game, all the vultures, which are the nobles, were dead. Everything was red with blood everywhere. And that's it. That's the end of the quest. She was gone. She left like a note or something. And that's it. I don't know what happened. I assume she poisoned them. But I think the vulture is not really, they're not really vultures. It's just like to state how like people in high power, politicians, nobles, they're like vultures, the way they act. I think that's what it is. Now, why am I saying that? Because the next mission, not necessarily the next mission you're gonna do, but the next mission I did is actually about an assassin that has been poisoned by nobles and told to go assassinate the governor. And if he succeeds, he's actually gonna get the antidote to the poison. And why do I say this is connected? Well, because when he hears the sister's name, he actually kind of perks up and listens immediately. So it leads me to assume that this is the brother of the sister, because we don't see the brother die, we only see the father die, right? So this kind of makes sense why she would ask for forgiveness now, but then why does she kill them? They can't give him the antidote. Like, there's a lot of things that are a bit confusing here. I'm not sure what's going on, but this quest itself, the assassin one, was actually pretty cool because you get to see everything that happened during the night the governor died from multiple perspectives. You're actually able to choose a perspective, and then you go through the perspective to see what happened at night. And if the person wasn't the one that has anything to do with the assassination, you get reset back to the start and you get to see the next perspective. This was actually pretty fun because you do get to see all the perspectives, and it's like a game trying to figure out which is the correct one, so you don't choose that one, you actually choose the other ones, so you see all the perspectives. But if you do that consistently, at some point you see the same conversation like 4 times from 4 different directions, and it becomes a little bit annoying. So I'm not really 100% sure if it's better to try to guess correctly or incorrectly. I tried to guess incorrectly intentionally and I succeeded until the last part, which I failed. But I just don't know. I wish it would once again cut the things we already saw. We don't need to see the same things 4 times. It's not like you get a different perspective, so you get a different information. You get the same information if it's the same conversation. So waste of time. Again, filler. New stranger, new problem. This time it's actually about a kid, a thieving kid and a snake. You go around the main city in the snowy mountains, and a kid kind of ropes you into a scam. He's basically scamming a merchant by saying that, hey, this adult person is going to pay everything for me. And then he steals a bunch of stuff and run away. But obviously I'm not going to pay for anything. I'm not done. Oh, you kid, just go away from here. But what happens is you start following the kid. Then you go with the kid into a cave. And then you break with the kid into like a hidden cave with a person. And like it's a place that's guarded and everything like that. You just keep following the kid and doing whatever the kid says. you fight a giant snake, you have like a multiple like, stories inside this place. It doesn't make any sense why you would even be there. And this entire duration, all I could think of was, why are we even here? We're not supposed to be here. Like, if it was a normal person, not the main character in this game, you would just say, who's this stupid kid? Anyway, on to my business. You won't follow the kid. So it's just like, when you're forcing me to do something, it just doesn't feel cool or nice or interesting. So once again, I was out of it. Last stranger on the list, and to be honest, this one's a little bit broke me. I wasn't really paying attention here. This is where they kind of stole the Minion movie plotline by stealing the moon. It's, I think, from what I understand, but I wasn't really paying attention, so I could be wrong here, a lesbian tragedy, I think. It's something very weird, which I don't really know 100%, so I'm not going to comment too much on it. I mostly was like skimming manhwa on my phone, just looking, like glancing once in a while on the screen. I was mostly on my phone, not even paying attention. So if you see any gameplay with the camera not moving, but only the keyboard moving, then you know why, because I wasn't really two-handing this game. And there's also a weird side effect to doing all the side stories first and then doing the main mission. The main mission doesn't seem to remember that you were already in that place. So if you do those side missions, then you do the main missions, you will see some of the main things again and again and again, and your character will be surprised by certain things that they should know. You are going to be in places that you're there for the first time, or it's not your first time. There's going to be people you're going to introduce to again. It's just kind of weird to see this thing twice, and it just once again took me out of this completely, and I was just like, okay, next. You might say that I'm a little bit exaggerating, right? It couldn't be that bad, right? Let me actually give you an example. At a certain point in the story, this gets so deep in the layers. I'm going to try to explain to you. So actually, like, stop whatever you're doing. Try to pay attention to this one, because this is going to be a little bit confusing, okay? At some point in the story, you're going to be telling a kid a story of the past. And you're thinking, okay, so what? Just telling a story to a kid about the past, no big deal. Well, let me actually explain this to you, how deep this goes, because I'm not sure a lot of people understand. You, the player, are playing a game. In the game, you're inside of a painting. Inside of the painting, you're going to the past. Inside the past, inside the painting, you're going into another painting. And then inside the painting, inside the past, inside the painting, you're going to the past. And then inside the past, inside the painting, inside the past, inside the painting, you're going to the past. So then you're in the end, inside the past, in the past, in the painting, in the past, in the painting. Simple, no? Really, really straightforward. Not really confusing. So we had fun, we joked about this, we explained some things, and I want to actually count or give some examples of only some of the crutches the story relies on in order to drag itself a little bit longer, so you won't be like, hey, this expansion is just way too short. Well, let me actually give you a few examples. I talked to you about the old man and the sack. What I didn't tell you is that during a certain point inside the story, the old man suddenly becomes mute. Up to that point, he was screaming, crying, yelling all the time. But at a certain point where he needs to call allied soldiers to help him, suddenly he's a mute. He's only able to use his hand to signal. He's not able to talk anymore, which is very convenient, isn't it? Okay, so one shortcut, fine. Maybe it's just like a one-time thing, and that's it, right? No, it's not. A little bit earlier than that point, you actually get an objective, which is to climb a tower. If you try to be smart about this, because you're like, hey, this town has so many bad guys in it, I'm gonna die if I get in there, you go around the place, which is what I did, right? Sounds like the most logical thing to do. You climb and you get to your objective. Well, the game says, no, 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 no. You need to go the dumb way and get a cutscene triggered, because you're not gonna get anything done unless you go the dumb way. So you have to go the dumb way. Same region, different quest, same trick. Number 3. All across the desert there's a bunch of plants that if you get close, they explode, they do damage to you. The logical thing is to just shoot an arrow at it and that's it, be done with this. Super simple, and you can do this all over the place. Except for one quest specifically where you have to get close. You can try to shoot the plant, it's not going to do anything. You can't even hit it with a melee hit. You have to get close, you have to get knocked out by the plant, and only then you trigger the cutscene. And it doesn't even matter, because the plant has nothing to do with the cutscene. All you do next is talk to a person that you can talk to anyway, because the person is nearby. So you get knocked out for no reason, just for the sake of cinematic things. At this point, I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed that they chose to do this way, because there are so many other ways that are way simpler and could actually bring you more joy, more logical ways to do this. So I'm just, like I said, disappointed. Last one, number 4, mobility inconsistency. After you play dozens of hours of this game, if you see any gameplay clip, if you see any story clip, you know that our character can jump very high, fly up, dash, do whatever, but fast, and do a lot of quick jumps. What happens during one part of the story is that you're not able to do that. Well, actually, technically during a lot of places of the story, but here specifically, you're supposed to chase after someone, and you're suddenly just, you can't do that anymore. You can't run, you can't jump. Which is, say with me, lazy writing. Correct, because you're just breaking the rules of what you set as the rules for this universe just because you can't write something good. That's sad. And it's not just the NPCs and the mechanics of the game that actually does that, it's also your character. I told you about the kid and how you're following him into a place. You're breaking into somebody's place, into somebody's home, into somebody's palace. And you're not questioning anything. It's a rerun of the Imperial Palace. It's the same thing all over again. You're committing crime just because somebody told you to do so. You're not questioning anything. And I'm not really sure if our character has any like self-awareness or anything. Do you not know that doing crime is bad? Do we need to like teach him a lesson or something to explain to him that, hey, crime is bad? I don't really understand this. And that's 4 for 4. That's not like luck. I didn't like cherry pick specific examples. I just gave you a few examples of even stories that I think could be good if you just cut some things from them. And that's what I mean, like how terrible, I don't want to use the word terrible, but I'm going to use it anyway. How terrible this feels when you know something could be good, but you choose not to. Now, to even strengthen this point more, I'm actually going to give you what I did like about this, because although it sounded negative up to that point, because yeah, I do feel like mostly negative about this expansion, it's like mostly a waste of time and a filler, but there were actually some good things in this Hexi expansion, so I do want to talk about them as well, because it's worth to mention them as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the old man and his sack, I already told you this. The bottom line, figuring out how like the cotton seeds got to China from the west, and the vulture things, how they ate his eye out with the seeds on them, and then they went and pooped somewhere else, and the cotton seed grew, and then they started selling the cotton and replanting it. It's cool. I really like this, how you see this like whole story. It's very cartoony all of a sudden. I don't know why they did it, but hey, it works. It's very nice. So I really like this. Once again, fillers is the main problem. So the old man and the sack was actually good despite the padding. But this next story is actually good even without the padding, because hey, there is no padding in this story. It's actually pretty good. It's the quest I told you about, getting knocked out by the plant. It's like the well quest, I'm gonna call it. It's about a village of diggers that for 4 generations actually dug a well. They were digging to find water. Why won't you go to a place with actual water already in it? I don't know, but that's the story, so let's stick to it, okay? Just put your head down, just focus on the story, don't think. You get to meet the daughter of the main guy for this village, and then she basically sends you down to the well and says, good luck, go get me a lamp. The lamp was actually a lamp that was used for all those generations to light up the cave as they were digging closer and closer to the water, and you get to see like all the stories about people dying off and fighting monsters, and the clashes between people who are saying, hey, let's stop digging and move, and people who are saying, no, let's stay. Those kind of things are like very nice to see them. And during one point, I actually got like a goosebump, when we'll talk about it in a second. You do get to see the moment the water comes in. You see like the last 2 people, her dad and his friend, and they are kind of digging, and then just sit down, and they're almost dead. They're like done with. They have like 1 more hit or 2 more hits to do, and you see the water start coming in. But they are the only 2 that's left. Everybody else has died. Everyone is dead, and you see them sitting there and saying, who are we even digging for? Everybody is dead. They're realizing this as they're doing this, that they've been so blinded by their goal that they didn't realize what happened throughout the way, and everybody's dead. And now that's nice, hey, there's a ton of water now, but who's going to drink it? Everybody's dead. And that little like tiny thing actually was very interesting to me. And later on, you get like a cool scene when you're walking using the lamp. You feel like Moses parting the sea, and the water slowly rises with you as you go to the entrance of the cave. The music is very nice. Everything just works out very nicely there at the end. I really had like goosebumps on my skin. It was very good quest. So you see, you can write good things when you want to. And it's not just that the writing lands sometimes, it's the pacing too, and the environmental storytelling. I want to mention White Crown Fortress. It's a very nice environmental storytelling where you go around the world, you collect a bunch of flags, then you come back to the castle and you plant the flags all over the place. And every time you plant a flag, you get like a trigger for memory scene about what happened in this fortress. This fortress basically was a real fortress where they held this garrison for a very long time. Even without any help, they had like a bunch of grain and food in there, so they were fighting for a very long time to defend, and then everybody started dying off, all the important people, the strong people, and they still survived for many years. Eventually they lost, and you can see that because everything is destroying the city. There's arrows everywhere, fires. You can tell this place is well abandoned and destroyed, but the way they held everything and the story up to it, it was very fucking cool. The general you see at the end, the boss fight is fine, but what I'm talking about is the moment, I think after it happens, not beforehand, he started like asking all the soldiers to get information, but you look around, there's absolutely nobody there. It's just him and you. And he keep like banging his like weapon on the ground and asking people to get information, and slowly it started going to the past, and then you see all the soldiers and the fortress in its prime. You see like the braziers on the walls, and you can feel the strength this garrison held. And it's also, like I said, a real story, and it feels very freaking cool. There wasn't like any wasted moments in there. There wasn't like lore that didn't match up, that it wasn't very interesting. Everything felt like it matched, and it was correct, and it just helped the information get across better to you, the player. So I'm really appreciative of things like that, that even though it's not a very long quest, it's just like the transition between the desert to the snow mountains. It was fucking good. I just love it. Every once in a while the game does something small that actually tries to ties everything together, even though it's very loosely. You get to see a nice wall mural when you go through a corridor. It's on two sides of the corridor. It's nothing like crazy, it's not a cutscene or anything. You just go through there and you see all the stories, all the main stories that you have experienced up to now, with the snakes, with the desert, blah blah blah. It's nice to see that they're kind of trying to do that, even though a lot of things don't match up. It's very nice to see those things. I do want to mention one gameplay section or one fight sequence, because the fight was so cinematic. It's actually the lion fight, the first one, not the second one. It was good. There wasn't any, like, once again, padding. The fight didn't feel over, like, drawn out. The finishes themselves were pretty cinematic, how you're jumping onto the creature to do damage to him rather than just your regular finishes to enemies. It was nice, it was clean. I really love this. And to close everything out, the game actually reminds you exactly why you keep coming back to this game, at least why I keep coming back to this game. It's a cinematic. It's just the feeling that they give you with this game. Like every time you go into a cutscene, you can feel what they're supposed to make you feel, like they want you to feel. Most part, I'm not talking about the conversation ones, I'm talking about the ones who are very clearly pre-recorded or pre-rendered videos that you see with the music, with people start playing things. The singing is so freaking great. I don't know if I can play this one for you, but I'm gonna try because it is such great. So you're gonna probably see this 3, 2, 1, maybe now. One more thing before I wrap this one up is the bugs. There weren't enough to make a whole section on it. I had a couple of bugs, one where the missions wouldn't trigger because I don't know why. I had to relog. This one was kind of like an hour and a half I wasted doing side mission thinking maybe those will trigger the main mission, but they didn't. I had to restart the game and then it just worked out perfectly. I wasted like 2 hours maybe. And I had another one where the posture bar for the boss was stuck. It just wouldn't break him no matter what I did. It was stuck on like 0 posture. But yeah, I just relogged and everything was fine again. So small stuff. The main reason I told you about the good stories is because I want you to understand something. I think they are able to make good stories. Eventually, at the start, I thought there would be like 2 things, like 1, they're not able, and 2, they just don't want to. And one of them got eliminated. I think they are able to do. I think they don't want to, or there's something else I didn't think about that's actually blocking them from making those good stories. Because you have already done so. You have shown me that you can. You just, for some reason, choose not to, or something else that doesn't allow you to create the others as good stories, or at least present them as such. They might be underneath, but there is so much mountain to climb through to actually get to the story that it becomes so confusing and just not interesting to most people. So Hexi looks incredible. It has a handful of genuinely great moments, which we just talked about, but it's structurally maybe 20 to 30 hours of like disconnected filler content trying to wear main questline costume. You go in to get more information about the witch which destroyed your childhood village, and you technically get what you paid for. The problem is that the price is, in my opinion, way too high for the actual information that you get. Currently, I'm not planning to jump into the next expansion that comes out. I don't know where I was. I didn't even see the trailer too much. I don't even remember what the release date is. But currently, I don't think I will. I think I will explore a little bit more about this before I jump in to see like, hey, what's up? Is this actually worth it this time? The main problem for me is actually those big fights and the huge waste of time this is just to get the small good stuff that are very sparkled like here and there, that you have to dig through everything just to find like one good thing. That's mostly my main problem, time. So maybe if I get more time, I might jump into this more. But currently, I just don't see myself returning to this because, yeah, we did get what we paid for. But like I said, and I keep saying, the price just wasn't worth it. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, thank you. If you didn't, let me know why. So can you prove it? I keep safe and I see you next one. Bye bye.